I'm Jane Cote. I am the academic director for the Carson College of Business at Washington State University here in Vancouver. And on behalf of my fellow panelists, I'd like to welcome you to this panel breakout session called Thriving in Large Markets. I think just from we met about a week ago just to kind of share our stories, and I think we're convinced that we're the funnest breakout session that you could have chosen. So thank you for being here. Our goal today is to learn a little bit about our panelists. What you'll find is that this team of executives is leading organizations that are really reaching out and finding those opportunities in our local, regional, and global marketplace in ways that are really innovative. So there's a lot that we can learn from them and their strategies for success. Also, one of our other goals is to glean some insights about how what's going to happen in the near-term future for growth in through their eyes. And what we're hoping that you'll take away today is some thoughts about how you might lead your organization into new markets, new opportunities, to keeping your eyes open for the changes that are coming and how you can take advantage of them. So our format for today is each of our panelists will introduce their company, talk a little bit about their route to success and what they see on the near-term horizon. They'll each speak for about, I think, 7 to 9 minutes. And then we're going to open it up for discussion and hope that we can have just a conversation amongst all of us here in the audience with our panelists. Each one of these companies has really a lot to offer and a lot to share, and I'm really excited to introduce them to you. We're going to go in alphabetical order. Our first presenter will be Ryan Jarvis. He's the president and founder of Shoebox, and I didn't know exactly what Shoebox was, but it's a fascinating company, and he'll share with you what they do. Hutch Johnson is the president of Cadet. Jeff Smith, President and CEO of Smith Root International, and Tracy Wilson from DeWils Industry. He's the CEO there. So I've said I would keep my remarks short so their remarks can be longer. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. Thank you.
Hi there. Like Jane said, I'm Ryan Jarvis from Shoebox Retail. What we do is IT infrastructure for pop-up events for enterprise clients. That's kind of complicated, so what we actually do is we send out all the computers and Wi-Fi networks and internet connections to parking lots around the world so that large clients can sell their merchandise in pop-up events. We also do stadiums. We cover the Orlando Soccer Club in Orlando. And we do the NBA All-Star Games last year. We do the Boston Marathon every year. And it basically amounts to setting up a rather large retail store, sometimes up to 50 to 60 registers, overnight, selling for 3 days, and then taking it all down in a couple of hours. This is actually like a really big problem that a lot of retailers experience because you build a store, it's set up, and then you just kind of leave it there. And your IT department just kind of leaves it there. And they get really used to everything just being there. So what we did was we came in and built these very portable cases. All we have to do is add power that basically integrate all of the things that you would normally see in a retail location, including security, including internet, including Wi-Fi, including your POS, including your inventory. By POS, I mean point of sale, just to be clear, and get all of that up and running in a very short time. If you check out our website, you can see some of the cases that we build, which are actually I'm really, really proud of. We've gotten a lot of our equipment shrunk down to the point where it fits into a carry-on, and that's an entire infrastructure for a store. We started about 5 years ago. We started in Vancouver, Washington. Our first client was Adidas. They did about 10 events a year at that point. For the most part, they were very large events for them. Weirdly enough, their largest event at the time was in Hebron, Kentucky, which was their distribution center, and they would liquefy their assets. So at the end of the year, and it became like this whole thing. It's like culturally, if you're in Kentucky, you go to this event. we actually grew with them. So originally we started with about 10 events a year. We're now at about 300. Some of these events, as I said, are quite large. And since then, we've gathered other clients as well. So we do Adidas, we do Reebok, we do TaylorMade, we have a presence in Puerto Rico. We also do Adidas Canada as well. Most of our business has grown through word of mouth. We expand really rapidly once we get the technology in there. A lot of people are used to, when we start, we're usually replacing technology like Casio, like 10-key cash registers, because you can't bring in all the infrastructure that they expect, and so they just kind of go with the lowest common denominator. We blow minds when we show up. We're iPads, we're iPods. We've got two different styles of selling, so we have a very fast, like high throughput selling. The Boston Marathon would be an example of this. We help them do about $3 million in 3 days, and that is just constant onslaught of people. So another thing, if you go to our website, you can actually see the kind of like wave of the crowd just hit these 50 registers as everyone goes through the Boston Marathon sign-up. The other thing that we do is these show and tell presentations where it's a lot less high volume. It's generally you get one sales rep per customer, and they have an iPad and show them around on the store and show and tell like a particular product. These tend to be like higher sticker items. And just that, I mean, it can be in a place where you can't have your physical item there, but you have an iPad with all the pictures and all the demos, and you have someone who can walk them through this, and this tends to work in a trade show. We also do things like Reebok CrossFit. So Reebok's done some interesting things where they're kind of investing in a lot of the smaller sports, and they're kind of gambling and hoping that one of them takes off to the extent that like football at one point took off. They do things like CrossFit, they do things like UFC. They're also investing in like American hockey, which, I mean, if anyone's from Minnesota, I'm sorry that I called that a small sport. But here we don't really think about it so much, but they're hoping that something like that's going to take off. With CrossFit, the event in California has grown, doubled in size every year since we've done it. We've done it for 4 years. And in those locations, it went from more of kind of like a show and tell, working with the CrossFit people, to these high volume sales where the merchandise is really the reason that they're there. Our primary hopes for the future are getting more of these enterprise clients. Since we do POS consulting along with all of this like integrated networking equipment, we do have a lot of, a handful to a lot of smaller clients that are local. And I primarily do those for my own edification. I really enjoy working with smaller retail shops. Even like, if it's a one register outfit with one employee who's also the owner, I can give them like a high quality POS system and also access to all that data, which I should probably talk about as well. One of the other things that we do is, and the key thing that kind of makes all this work is we connect all of this data that they're gathering at the event back to the ERP system that Adidas or a Reebok would use. One of the reasons that they have so much software and anyone has so much more of this information gathering there is so that it can kind of go back into these main channels that then get aggregated out into their analytics. We do massive information gathering at these events, so sales, customer data. We've experimented with some other forms of information gathering, but a lot of them are too creepy for me, so we've kind of nixed those programs. And then getting the data back into their system involves a lot of programming and just making sure that we have a nice little loophole back in there. My shop, the way we started was pretty much the way I started. We have a hacker mentality and a hacker ethos there. We don't get things that we don't take apart. Usually when we order something, the first one is immediately destroyed. We rip off all the plastic, we find out how it works, we pull out the chips. A lot of POS equipment is 15 years behind the times. Having a little slate computer in your pocket is just commonplace for all of us. For them, I mean, their receipt printers are like this big and cost $400 because no one has ever questioned that. I mean, credit card technology, we've moved to the chip and pin thing. 10 years behind everybody else in the world. But now that we have that, we've also got all the tap stuff, which has been incredibly hard for large retailers to integrate, because up until the recent year, they've had no reason to change any of their POS equipment. So you got, oh great, I've got an iPad that I can, or an iPhone that I can tap onto this thing, into a system that's 15 years old. I mean, if anybody's been into a Sears lately, I mean, they still have green screen computers. It's just wild to me. And so, yeah, we take stuff apart. We try and find better ways of using it. We try and push that forward. We've built some of our own hardware to fix some of these problems. We build our own software just because that's what you have to do these days. And then we also offer just crazy good customer support. I'm very dedicated to our clients. I'm very dedicated to their uptime. It took me one experience to realize that if you're doing $3 million in 3 days, that's thousands of dollars a minute. If they're down, they're very angry. And you feel really bad. So we keep downtime to an absolute minimum. And I don't ever take that for granted, because what they pay for our systems, they can pay for in minutes at one of these larger events. And that's huge. How am I doing on time?
I think you probably have a minute.
Okay. The last thing I want to say here is just that when we grow, the biggest challenge that I've seen is my entire mentality is this hacker ethos, is this technical side of things, is the customer pleasing side of things. We struggle in making local connections, and that is entirely on us. We've been really lucky. Martha's over here. She's our CEO. She has been our voice in the local community. She's reached out. She's the reason I'm standing in front of you guys today. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm hoping that with more local connections, with more understanding of where we are outside of my lab, we can grow our customer base even further. Okay. Thanks so much.
I'd like to turn it over to Hutch. Talk about Cadet.
Well, I'll tell you something. Listening to a company like this, it's incredible. The first time I went into a store and someone came up with an Apple iPad, they wanted me to sign with my finger, I went, what? And then they emailed me my receipt. I mean, the world changed. And I think my message today is, I don't think people realize how fast it's already changed. And if you don't start moving your business quickly, you're going to miss it, and you're going to be left behind. So Cadet is an old traditional manufacturer, old technology, baseboard heaters. Same products for 40 years, same design. It's the low-cost solution for heating multifamily, low-income homes, and other areas. It's, we're the #2 nationally. But originally, 58 years ago, we were selling all of our products through the contractor. And if any of you wanted to buy electric heater, you went to a contractor who bought it through the electrical distribution channel, and that was the only way to do it. Mid-'80s, big box retail opened. They wanted to stock our products. Our products came in brown boxes with a catalog number. We had no marketing. We had no literature. We didn't understand retail. How do we do this? We were threatened by the contractors. You can't sell big box. They're bad. They're going to sell to our customers. And we went through this. Big box became half of our sales over the next 10 years. But that was nothing compared to what happened about 6 years ago. E-commerce. All of a sudden, our products are now ordered online. When you do that, your Visa card goes in. The order is EDI'd to our computer. We actually make the product for you, ship it to your doorstep the next day. Now think about that. Think about how less costly that is to take a product off the production line to your doorstep. And it wipes out shipping to a Home Depot store, shipping to someone, having someone put on the shelf, going through a register. That's all gone. That's the future for manufacturers, to move our products from our production to the end user. So we were not prepared for this. We didn't even have a marketing department. And now we actually needed to own the Cadet brand from the very beginning. Everyone in the room, if you're going to go buy a Cadet, what are you going to do? You're going to go home and you're going to Google electric heater. We have to come up on the first page. We have to have a website that's easy, that's not sticky, that leads you down your purchasing journey, tells you where to buy it, gives you all the information you need to know. So then when you do go buy it, wherever you choose, it could be online, it could be on shelf, it could be through a contractor, but you're making the buying decision. Excuse me, I get going, I get all excited. So we had to gear up. And the way we did that is we hired a bunch of younger people, because that's what changed, the customer. Anyone born around 1985 grew up with this technology, and they are going to buy everything on their smartphone and make all their decisions online. That's a whole new deal. We had to gear up, and whether you call that social, blogging, digital marketing, whatever you want to call it, you have to reach to those people the way they are listening. You have to focus on your customer. What are their needs and wants? And how do they want to buy your product? And I think if you keep your company focused on that, as these changes happen, you'll stay with them. But I think some people get stuck, and we heard that this morning. It's hard to change an organization that are used to doing it the old way. And that's a big challenge I think we all have.
Jeff?
Not me.
Yeah, you're next.
All
I know
right.
you wanted to be last.
Well, morning. And I want you to notice I didn't say good morning. Anytime I've got to get up at 5:30, that's not a good morning. I want you to know right off the bat. But the other observation I'd like to share with you is that obviously you people are the most intelligent people in the building because you're here, right? So, all right. Smith Root Incorporated has been around, this is our 52nd year, and hardly anybody even knows about us because we don't advertise, we don't market, we don't do anything except inside of our own particular industry, which primarily is government agencies that deal with fisheries issues. And we have agents all over the world. We sell internationally. Some of you may or may not have heard about the Asian carp in the Mississippi River that they're concerned about them perhaps getting into the Great Lakes. And we've been hired by the Corps of Engineers to put in one of our barriers, electric fish barriers, to stop the advancement of that particular invasive species. And one of the things that we have learned over the years is that invasive species are not going to go away. It's becoming more and more pronounced. It's going to become a bigger political button. One of the things that we're very fortunate in, that our particular business is kind of supported by sports fishing. Sports fishermen are, believe it or not, is the largest sport in the world. When you combine the revenue in sports fishing versus football, basketball, tennis, any of the others, it still is the largest. And that's amazing. But they also have terrific political horsepower. And so consequently, the abundance of indigenous species, such as salmon on the Columbia River, is a big issue. And so consequently, we're involved in just about everywhere in the world in helping scientists to do studies and researchers to understand what's going on out there. What Smith Root is unique in that we have probably just about every major discipline under one roof. We have engineering, be it physical, civil, mechanical, and so on. Then we have electrical engineering, and then we also have a fisheries biologist, and we are expanding very rapidly all over the world. we are also working on, let's see here, I lost my note here. We have converted Smith Root to an employee-owned company. So now I work for the employees. So that means I've got to be nice to them. But in any case, we, in the last 10 years, we've grown by about 300%. And basically, we've done this with technology and innovation, with new products that we provide, using GPS, using all of the different technologies out there. Smith Root has grown tremendously. But one of the biggest things that we've done, and this is kind of unique in most industries, is that we have created or work within what I call a vacuum. And what I mean by a vacuum is that rather than trying to compete with other industries that are building widgets, we basically look for needs in the fisheries research group, in industry, and we pursue those. As a good example, we are working on sea lion containment. And to protect sea lion and keep them off of docks, keep them out of harm's way, we now have some technology. We've had a couple sales already that look very, very good. And there's nobody else doing it. And that's why we pursued that. And there are many other things. Electrical fish bearers, there's no one else in the world that does what we do. Some of the electrofishing equipment that we manufacture, nobody's doing. And I should mention, every product that we manufacture is non-lethal. It's used strictly for research purposes. And I think the other thing that we're looking at is our management style. I'm sure that all of you have seen short-term thinking. We see that in politics. We see it in a lot of different walks of life, and long-term thinking. And one of the things that we've really focused on, and in my opinion, for any industry to survive, it has to take the long perspective. And that means investing in education for your employees. It means bringing in the latest equipment, the latest technology, and it means basically employee relations, not only just education, but how you treat them and how you take care of them. And that really has been one of the biggest issues that we have. The average tenure at Smith Root is about 15 years. We have very, very little turnover, primarily because we demonstrate on a daily basis that we care about them. So consequently, the future of Smith Root, we think, is interesting in that we have been through a lot of ups and downs in the economy in the last 52 years, but interestingly enough, we have actually felt the impact of that very minimally because of the fact that fisheries issues are huge political buttons. They may not spend money on many other things, but when it comes to fisheries, because of the sports fishing, the money is there. And we find that to be fascinating, and of course, we've enjoyed that aspect of it. And for the changing climate that we're coming into is presenting more and more challenges to fisheries biologists and scientists all over the world, which means that involves Smith Root, which we're quite, this is a terrible thing to say. I'm excited about that, about the challenges that lay ahead of us. But it is kind of a sad thing to say, but it is there. It's a reality of our business model, is that fisheries issues are going to become more and more pronounced. So consequently, we think we're in a very strong position at a good time. And lastly, we're quite excited about the Columbia River this year. We think we're going to have good flows. There will be some good sports fishing. So we're looking for a good year in the Pacific Northwest. All right.
Great.
Anything else?
We'll
All right.
open the discussion.
That'll do it?
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff. Finally, Tracy Wills from DeWils Industries.
Good morning. You have to excuse my throat. I just got back from Las Vegas, 4 days trade show with the National Building Show and Kitchen Bath Industry Show. And even though smoking has pretty much gone away from public everywhere else. In Las Vegas, it's alive and thriving. And I'm not a smoker myself, but I come back from there feeling like well, in fact, I'm even having nicotine withdrawals right now. So our company was founded in 1959, the same year I was born. I know I don't look that old, but I am. And my father started in 1959. He was a linesman for the phone company, and he started this as a side business in his garage. And he was doing this for a couple of years, and he wanted to be a furniture manufacturer, kind of got sidetracked into cabinets. But one day a builder had come to him and ordered a $3,500 kitchen from him, and which $3,500 back in the early 60s was a lot of money, and he figured this will allow him to launch the company and give him plenty of padding to get started. So he went to the phone company, quit his job, and then subsequently the builder canceled the order, and he had $800 in the bank, 3 young kids, and was about ready to go beg for his job back, and he decided, well, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. So he jumped right in, and like I said, at that time, cabinetry was in big demand in Clark County. It was growing quite a bit. There was a lot of housing. And so, anyway, that's why we ended up being a cabinet manufacturer versus a furniture manufacturer. So the business was basically a local cabinet shop growing through the 60s into the early 70s. We began to attract some stocking dealers and distributors in the Seattle area. We opened up our own distribution in Boise, and we had one stocking dealer in Hayward, California that served the San Francisco Bay Area and was supposed to serve all of Northern California. The recession hit in the 80-82 area, and some of those markets were the hardest hit in the nation. And our business went from, we were at about a $7 million company at that time, and sales were just slashed in half. Some of our key dealers went out of business, and we're trying to scramble to rebuild this thing. We only had one salesperson that was out on the road at that time covering these stocking dealers. I was the purchasing manager at that time, and so I decided, well, I needed to get out there and sell and try to expand our territories, and really had to get out of my comfort zone, because as a purchasing manager, I couldn't help feel every time I sit down with one of these salespeople that I was sitting on my side of the desk. But so out of necessity, got involved in sales, started to head down to California to try to set up some more of these stocking dealers and distributors, which is in the kitchen industry, that's how everything was done back then. The stocking dealers would sell to the builders, the distributors would sell to the builders or the small kitchen, single kitchen stores. So what I started to find was, first of all, through this recession, there were fewer of these distributors. Many of them didn't survive. And then the ones that did really didn't have the finances to take on another line and the financial commitment to inventory that was required, or be able to, even those that wanted to take our line on versus what they were carrying presently, they just couldn't go through the financial loss that it would require to wean off of one inventory and break in another. So I saw the only way for us to grow is to just bypass the distributor, stocking dealer, and go directly to the single kitchen dealer. Which created a whole lot of challenges, and I soon grew to appreciate exactly what the distributor was doing for us at the time. And they weren't just taking their cut and shipping cabinets to the dealer. We had to step it up and increase the amount of reps we had in the field. Those reps had to do the servicing of all those various accounts that we were setting up. We had to do a lot more training of the designers in these kitchen dealers in order to learn our product. We had to expand our product, because all of a sudden now dealing with the dealer versus a stocking distributor, it was always easy to tell the stocking distributor, well, they didn't request a whole lot from us because they would have to inventory it. The kitchen dealer was entirely different. They wanted everything. So we started becoming more and more custom. We had to add a lot to our SKUs, a lot more styles and colors. So that caused a lot of significant challenges on the manufacturing end. But still, in the end, we were able to, and we were really the first ones on the West Coast that did this, and much to the chagrin of our competition, who thought we were crazy going that route. Most of them were investing in their own distribution centers and investing their money in large inventories, and we were going out there and cutting them by 20-30% for a product that was better. And so we really carved out a really nice niche during that time. By the late 80s, I got a visit once from there was a minivan that pulled into our parking lot one day, and there was about 12 Japanese gentlemen. I don't know how they all fit in this one minivan, but they all got out and they wanted to tour the factory and talk about importing product into Japan, which I thought this was a little crazy and far-fetched, but I gave them a tour. They said they were going to return in 30 days. I never expected to see them again, and sure enough, they showed up with blueprints and of their showroom, and they were ready to order cabinets, and so all of a sudden it opened up my eyes to the possibilities of selling in the export market. So I found a group called the Evergreen Partnership. They were a group that was started by Governor Booth Gardner and some private concerns like Simpson Door, Weyerhaeuser, Buffin Doors, and ourselves got involved with them, went on some trade missions with Brian Boyle, who was at that time the Commissioner of Public Lands. And we started carving out more and more of a market there. Started meeting a lot of building materials consolidators that were putting windows, door packages, cabinet packages, shipping them to Japan. At that time, there was a big push between the government of the state of Washington and the Kyoto, Osaka, I can't remember the prefecture's name that's in, but they're our sister prefecture there, and prefecture is the Japanese term for state. And we had built Washington Village and Seattle Village, which was neighborhoods of about 200 houses, all 2x4 construction. The traditional Japanese market was post and beam construction. So we were trying to show the 2x4 construction is a stronger, more efficient, and lesser expensive way of building homes. And when the Osaka earthquake occurred, which I think was in the 93, 94 area, there was a famous picture in Japan where it would show this post and beam Japanese home that was totally leveled by the earthquake, and there's this 2x4 house built in Washington Village that was still standing. So it touched off a big boom for that particular type of product. And by the mid-90s, 2x4 construction had reached 10% of the market in Japan. And they were building like 2.5 million houses a year, far more than we were building here in the U.S. And we were kind of on the leading edge of that in terms of American cabinet manufacturers. We became at that time the largest exporter of kitchen cabinets in the nation. So it was a big market for us. It got up to over 20% of our business, which was kind of scary. It was a little high, I thought. And sure enough, they had a housing bubble, and that whole thing collapsed, and the 2x4 thing never really came back very strong. We still have a decent market in the traditional Japanese market, but it's not what it used to be. The late 90s, we started pushing into the East Coast in order to kind of make up for that deficit. And again, it was adding more reps and doing a lot more national advertising, national trade shows like the Kitchen Bath Industry Show, which is one of the largest trade shows in the country. Started showing there and getting dealers in the East. Today, the Northeast, the New York City, Long Island, Philadelphia suburb, New Jersey pocket is right up there with the San Francisco Bay Area as our largest market in the country, and still growing. In recent years, the Texas, Oklahoma, Alberta markets have been really strong due to oil, but they're imploding right now. But that just goes to show you the importance of the geographical diversification that we've tried to do, because there's always hot markets and cold markets, and sometimes they're not all occurring at the same time. One of the things I'd noticed in the early 80s during that recession was that the one market that didn't seem to be suffering with the rest of the country was Southern California. So that's why there was a big push at that time to get into Southern California, and opened up that market in '85. In California, if you mentioned recession, they thought you were talking about your hairline. And but that changed in 1991 when we had the peace dividend and the defense industry slowed down because the Iron Curtain had fallen, the wall had fallen, and so that was the one spot in the country that was going through a recession. So again, it's worked out real well for us to have that kind of diversification, particularly in the housing industry. There's always hot spots and cold spots, and so we're going to continue moving forward and trying to increase our market share, particularly in the Mid-Atlantic area, because Washington, D.C. seems to never have a recession, and every 4 years they have a boom as the administrations change. So anyway.
Great. Thanks. Thanks, Tracy. to the mic? Okay, good. So, thank you. I think that was a great diversity of businesses. Everyone from Ryan, who is our newest business owner here, to our other panelists who've been around for decades. Yeah. So that's, it's been a fabulous perspective. And what I found interesting is that as they are thinking about, going into new markets, and going beyond, Southwest Washington, they're looking at things like new ways to buy. What are the new ways that people are buying their product, whether it's online or in a big box store or at the Boston Marathon, where they might locate. And I think that Tracy just brought up some really interesting thoughts about geographical diversification and how different parts of the country and the world experience demand differently, and so that's helped his business. And then who are our partners? So how do these companies, as they're growing, think about where are the important partners that are going to help them grow? And I know Jeff, I didn't bring it out right now, but some work that he's doing with Notre Dame and how that partnership is helping to expand their business. So it's not just about sort of being bigger and selling more, it's sort of being thoughtful about where to place yourself. So I think we got a really good perspective on that here, as some of us here in the room are thinking about how we go from being in Southwest Washington to leveraging that across the region and the globe. So I want to take a minute and open it up for questions, because I think there's some great thoughts that you guys probably have in the audience and questions you might have for our panelists. Mike.
I think one of my quota of questions. Talk about the technical skills for your workforce. How is that changing? Are there more machining, technical, programming type things that you need? And then how do you see educational partners in our community helping out with those changing needs? That's Ava.
Well, I can say that at Smith Root, we are actively seeking academia partnerships. As mentioned earlier, we work with Notre Dame, and we've relocated our new facilities right next to WSUV Vancouver. So we're looking to maintain some working relationships and shared lab space and so on. One of the things that is changing rapidly, of course, is the electronics industry. And things that we manufactured a few years ago is obsolete. And so our new engineering practices and staff is constantly undergoing updates, changes, and improvements with the new technology. I'm absolutely dumbfounded at some of the things we're able to do with the new CPU power, PIC processors, all of the different things that are involved in electronic components is changing so fast. And as I had mentioned to some people before, is that as I watch this technology change, I'm having more fun now in my career than I've ever had ever. It's just amazing to me, the tremendous changes. But the real key for us, and I'm sure for many of my peers here, is education. And it's really critical that we continue to support the colleges, the high schools, and so on. And so Smith Root is quite active in science projects, science fairs, and that's also how we recruit some of our employees. So does that answer your question? Does it help you?
Well, our particular workforce doesn't require higher education or particularly a lot of high-tech skills. Most of our big equipment, the panel saws, the routers, glue machines are all computerized, but it's fairly easy to teach them how to utilize that. But what I do see, and it's impacting the entire home construction industry, but in our particular segment of it, there's a real shortage of skilled labor. Cabinet installers, for instance, a good cabinet installer can make quite a good living, but there's a real shortage of them right now. There's all kinds of people in the framers, roofers, what have you, and you probably heard stories about that being welders and truck drivers and that whole bit. But it's there in the home construction industry too, as well as the kitchen cabinet installation, and so our dealers have to face that all the time. In terms of designers, that too is a problem. Kitchen designers, people for some reason, don't go through school dreaming of one day being a kitchen designer. And they just somehow stumble into that field, and then they have to get on-the-job training. There are schools that do interior design and different types of stuff like that, but not particularly directly. That's something that I'd like to start working with, like the Skill Center, a little bit more on in terms of cabinet install, and maybe even talk to Bob Knight and talk about introducing at least kitchen design to some of their design type schools there.
Yeah, I think Cadet basically has two issues. Most people actually don't know this. We do all of our manufacturing right here in Vancouver, and we have a plant. We bring in sheet steel, we bring in components globally, and we fab, paint, assemble. Our products are made in the USA, and we're very proud of that. We have about 120 people, and so one of the issues we have is finding good manufacturing trained people, because as manufacturers send all their stuff offshore, we lost a group of people that understand how to manufacture. We use lean enterprise, we're just in time, and that we need people trained, and it's all about productivity and efficiency. The second area is digital marketing. People don't, I didn't mean to be, not be PC when I said hire younger people. It's you need to hire people that get it, that grew up with mobile and how this all works. And sometimes people my age don't get it. We didn't grow up with it. It's not intuitive to us. And the Northwest has a lot of high-tech companies that have sucked up a lot of those talented people. So we continually look for people that can come in and help us put better content on our website, can do SEO, so really understand what's driving sales through the digital marketing area. So those are the two areas.
Our primary engineer was a research biologist. He does not have a degree in engineering. He just has a mind for pragmatism, which is really what we look for. In a lot of our high-tech things, we got really irritated with buying things off the shelf and the markup associated with those, and really started creating a lot of them ourselves. Once you break stuff down, it's actually quite simple. Not to say an iPhone is simple, not that level, but for the most part, everything else, I mean, those parts have all been put on ICs, like integrated circuits at this point. So it's a little bit like plug and play. You're just snapping puzzle pieces together. Once you get to that point, you can reduce your costs immensely by going in large bulk chip purchases. Right now, we don't have anyone who's like a trained engineer. I'd really like that to be one of our next steps that we do. But so much of our company is built around this idea that, okay, we can't do that. We need to learn how to do that. And just kind of spending your nights or spending your extra time learning stuff along with just doing your job.
So curiosity, creativity,
Absolutely.
Is an important part of your business. You have 5 employees right now,
Mm-hmm.
and are you seeing on the horizon, what do you think the size of your employee base would be?
Our primary goal right now is sales and marketing,
Uh-huh.
so that we can get up there with the engineers. And I see us always being a fairly small shop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do a lot right now with our 4 or 5 employees that we have. The growth there, I think, has to scale. We have a lot of room to grow our customer base before we grow our engineering right now.
Yeah, and what I thought was interesting about your business is that it is built such that, it's kind of shop in a box, right? So it is, you don't have to send someone with you out to the Boston Marathon with your equipment. It's kind of all there, and even sort of technology.
Yeah.
Crazy people like me can figure it
Yeah,
out.
we're the tech guys. You don't have to be the tech guys. We try and avoid the IT departments of every big company that we get involved with. We work out that API, that little hole to communicate back and forth, and then I don't want to talk to them. They're the guys who say, no, you can't do that. They're the guys who say, don't do that. we just avoid them altogether. We talk to the guys who want to do new stuff, we talk to the guys who have new ideas or want to execute them, and we try and avoid the naysayers.
So for you, growing has really been about making a product that's easily accessible
Correct.
to the broader
Yeah, you're never
marketplace.
going to spend the time to train every individual retail employee. You're going to train them to plug the power cord in and flip a switch, maybe open the laptop, although we've had support calls where, yeah, you got to open it up first. But yeah.
That was me. Sorry. Great, awesome. Other questions? Yes.
Thank you all for being here this morning. Just speaking off of a theme that's been in the whole session about technology, the impact, and jumping off of some of Hutch's comments. With technology having the effect of flattening the supply chain, particularly on the buyers, and giving essentially individuals access to what have been commercial paper relationships, where do you see brand development falling in your kind of strategy portfolio in the next 5 years?
You want me to start? I think that's huge. And and I think DeWils is a great brand name, and Cadet is, we've been around years and years and years, but how do we, there's a lot of people that haven't heard that. They're new, heard their Northwest names maybe more than nationally. And, but I think you can't rely on your channel partners to carry your brand all the way to the customer and own it and make it all the way through. We have an issue with other websites that you can buy a Cadet on that don't reflect who we are as a company on their website. So it's a negative to us. So we actually have to control, I think you need to control your brand all the way through whatever channels you want, all the way to the customer. And I think that's probably why they were down at the Builder Show with the booth, is they were controlling their brand as the people came through, because that's the future. I mean, branding is, I think, more important today than it even used to be. And it's shifted. I mean, if you go back, branding was all about where your product is on the shelf, and the billboard, and the radio ad, and the TV ad all looking alike and everything. Well, that's all online now. And it's instantaneously changed. So you can go ahead and brand online and measure results over a few weeks. And if it isn't working, you can change it. I mean, it's incredible. But you have to have people that understand that are deriving that and measure it. And then again, you can measure your branding. So.
You know, for us in our industry, branding for a long time was really within the industry. The ultimate homeowner didn't necessarily know a cabinet manufacturer. They may know Pella Windows or Anderson Windows, but they didn't necessarily know there's very few cabinet manufacturers that have been able to make a brand name for themselves at the consumer level, so it was more within the industry. But the internet's changed a lot of that, and that's one of the things. My daughter, who's our VP of marketing, is just fantastic at this sort of thing. I'm a retro grouch myself, so I'm not really on that social media stuff, but we've been a leader in social media within our industry and partnering with people like House. I don't know how many of you are familiar with House, but they've become a big medium for on the internet, and she's constantly working with them and building our name recognition with the end consumer through the House network, and we've been. I think we're like the third or fourth year in a row we're the #1 kitchen cabinet, I don't know what they call it, viewing through House, and we've gotten another national award from them for that. But it's really my daughter working that constantly and taking advantage of that, and then Pinterest and all this other stuff that I don't understand, but as long as she does, it doesn't really matter. So anyway, that's changed a lot. And so now the end consumer is finally seeking out those dealers with a brand name in mind and driving that decision. So it's really changing a lot in our industry anyway.
Great question.
Well, to me, branding is synonymous with quality of service, follow through, warranty work, on and on and on. And that's how you develop a brand, in my opinion. You don't just walk in with a cool name. You've got to have something that people after a while learn that they can count on. And so to me, it's very simple. Branding is important, and it's one of the things that we've been very fortunate in our industry, and we've been able to, knock on wood when I say it, eliminate just about all of our competitors worldwide by doing quality work. We're expensive, but we do the best work, and we build the best equipment that you can buy out there, as simple as that. And we stand behind it. So, yeah, that's what a brand to me is. Does that help you at all in your thinking?
We do primarily support for retail, and these retailers, their brand is everything to them. Our brand takes a back seat to that a lot of the time when it's being used. We've struggled really hard. Our original name was Technoloft. That sounds like a dance club. When we were starting out, that was a really big problem, it was hard to distinguish us from a dance club. When we moved over to Shopbox Retail, it became a lot more clear what we did. And then it's become more of a, how do we get our brand recognized by the right people? And still, I mean, I want our equipment to be very visible to the right people when we're at these events, but I want the people who own our equipment and use it to make it feel like it's completely invisible to their customers, and it's part of their setup. And that's a hard line to walk, and that's one that we're still figuring out.
Yes, sir.
As you talk about your expansions and introductions into new markets, of course, every business owner has to think about how they're controlling their costs and at home with their employees. And towards that, can you perhaps give us a little bit of an impact on how some of the changing laws regarding healthcare, health insurance, employee benefits have affected your ability to grow, or how it might have inhibited your ability to grow your business because of the increased regulatory requirements by employers?
I'm probably not the one to speak on it myself, but we do try and offer our employees as good benefits as we can to attract them. I know we were talking, Jeff and I were talking, as this was starting, about offering insurances that let your employees choose which doctor you want, and that costs more. I'm afraid I'm not going to be the one to speak intelligently about this. You asked me some technical questions. And I'm
You know what, Cadet has always over-benefited our people. We really believe in a family culture. We've always had a gold-plated benefit plan. We have a wellness program. We do the Hood to Coast run. We do company barbecues. We really think that that's an investment we're making in our people. And so we spend money there. And so we're way above all the regulations. We overdo it. But we believe that's the right thing for us.
Yeah, I get industry reports about wages and benefits within our industry nationwide, and we have always paid significantly more, anywhere from 50% to twice as much money per hour for our factory employees when you include bonuses and pay and base pay and benefits. It's interesting, though, that at the same time, even though we're paying our people quite a bit more than the industry standard, when I look at percentage of labor costs as a percentage of sales, we lead the industry. And so obviously our people have to be a whole lot more efficient. If you go into our factory, you'll see people that have been there for 30, 40 years. When I was 16 working in the milling department, half that department still, I thought they were old guys back then in their 20s. Most of them are there today, and some of them are finally now starting to retire. We've got probably a third of our workforce have been there 15 or more years. And so we're not constantly retraining people. And it shows up in the quality of the product, and we're not having to do the warranty replacement and that sort of thing. So for us, it's really worked out well that way. So we've not directly been impacted by a lot of this labor regulation, talks of minimum wage and increases and such. If anything, it would probably help us because it would hurt our competition. That's not to say that I think those things should happen because of those reasons, because they create a whole lot of other problems for other people. But again, it hasn't been a direct problem for us.
I'm probably going to blow some of your minds when I answer that question. We embrace environmental issues. We embrace the Affordable Care Act. We embrace all of these things because it's long-term thinking. It truly is. Short-term thinking is very popular right now. But long-term thinking says that you have to take care of your employees, you have to take care of the environment, and everything that you build has to meet that criteria. Now, the downside of that is it might be a little inflationary, which means that you have to increase the price of your product a little bit to address that. But typically, that's across the board. I've never understood some of the industries that are fighting minimum wage, because everybody, theoretically, is going to have to raise the price of their product to cover the increased wages. But short-term thinking sometimes gets in the way of smart business. So in any case, I encourage every one of you to look at things long-term. And if it was easy, everybody could do it. You'd have a lot more competition.
Well, today, one of the things when we heard our keynote panel, Cooney, Peace Health, and Nautilus, they're in big markets, but they're here in Southwest Washington, and our four panelists here today are also growing and expanding from this community. So when I came to this community a couple of decades ago, I came from even a smaller community called Pullman, Washington, if anybody's ever heard of that. And yeah, who would have thunk it? But when I came here, when you live on the east side, it was like Vancouver, what is that? And I came here and I've learned a lot about this industry or this region. A lot of times we have a little bit of lack of sort of self-confidence because we're in the shadow of Portland. But I think what we've seen today is that this region, Southwest Washington, offers a lot of opportunities for us to have our businesses, to have our families, and to grow to be regional, national, and global players in the market. And so a lot of that is, thanks to all the great things that are here in Southwest Washington that we love, including our tax structure and our environment. So I think this has been an interesting morning, and I like how the keynote panel helped to work with this panel as we're thinking about how we locate in Southwest Washington, but we reach the wider world. So I had promised that you would be able to be back out the door by 10 o'clock, and we're cresting on 10 o'clock. I'd like to say a really special thank you to our four executive panelists here. They've given a lot in terms of their time. They wrote great articles. Please take time to read them. We were able to meet and get to know each other. They've invested a lot in being here today, and I just want to say thank you for making that effort. It's been a lot of fun. So with that, I believe we are adjourned. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Well.